Welcome. I'm Doug Morgan, and you're listening to Uncommon Sense, where we hunt for the truth in the topics you're not supposed to talk about, Christianity and politics. Even though my wife and I have a couple of younger children, believe it or not, I did not know who Miss Rachel was until very, very recently. You probably know who she is yourself, but for those of us that are oblivious, like I was, here's an article by a writer and podcaster, Bethany Mandel, who is of the Mom Wars, and she wrote for the New York Post last year. She said, most parents my age grew up believing that Mr. Rogers was speaking directly to us in our living rooms. He felt like a member of the family, a beloved one. He didn't just explain the world as it was, he showed us what it could be. Fred Rogers helped raise two entire generations of Americans with a gentle, nonpartisan, and non-controversial moral compass grounded in common sense. Today, my parents see Miss Rachel as the next, Mr. Rogers. Only her audience finds her not on PBS, but on digital media. Back in the day, we had to wait for Mr. Rogers' scheduled airtime. But Miss Rachel's Songs for Littles is available on demand, around the clock, on both YouTube and Netflix. Rachel Griffith Accurso's super sweet singy song Miss Rachel persona is a top YouTube draw with over 14 million subscribers and more than 10 billion views. That's billion with a B. Her social media feeds on Instagram and TikTok, where she remains in character in her trademark pink headband, are followed by millions more. And she and a recurring cast of kind of cheery co-star teach babies, toddlers, and preschoolers about the ABCs, colors, emotions, animals, and pretty much anything that she can set to music. She's so popular that when Drew Barrymore hosted Robert De Niro on her talk show recently, she had Miss Rachel record a personalized video for the actor's 2-year-old daughter, which went viral for its winking reference to Taxi Driver. De Niro melted. And this is the quote, if there's a problem with the baby and there's a lot of unhappiness, put on Miss Rachel, he gushed. It just immediately goes away, is what he said. But unlike Mr. Rogers, Miss Rachel's content sneaks in political themes, invariably leftist ones, actually. And in 2023, she put her followers in a timeout, briefly leaving social media when a mom objected to a Miss Rachel video in which a castmate dressed and androgynously with multiple facial piercings and that type of thing, suddenly introduced a non-binary puppet character. Their name is Patches, as they put it. Since the controversy, some parents have noticed an uptick in political messaging in Miss Rachel's social media posts. Consider that 30% of children ages 5 through 7 are using TikTok, despite the platform's 13 and older policy, and usage among the vulnerable group is surging. Almost a quarter of children in this demographic have a smartphone, and more than 3/4 use a tablet computer. Younger kids use them too. And parents aren't just putting their children in front of Miss Rachel on the YouTube, but on her social media as well, where the algorithm can keep entertaining them with her content. Happy Pride, she exclaimed on TikTok last June, wearing a a rainbow striped shirt. And she said, "I'm not chasing fame or views," she said. "I'm standing strong in love." Translation: if you're uncomfortable with a children's entertainer expressing political views on sexuality, you just don't have love in your heart. In recent weeks, she's been increasingly fixated on the war in Gaza. For 12 days after the October 7th terror attack on Israel, Miss Rachel remained silent. Not until October 19th, when Israel was beginning its Gaza invasion, did she post a video crooning, "Safe, safe, safe. All children deserve to be safe." She didn't spare a word for the dozens of children held hostage by Hamas at that moment. Since then, she regularly posted Hamas-aligned talking points about the number of children killed and the complaints about meager aid shipments. Quote, "Please practice the golden rule and do what you would want someone to do for you," she lectured. What exactly would any other country do while 59 of its citizens are still being held hostage? But for all her posts lamenting the plight of Gaza and the videos of, waving Gazan children, there's one conspicuous omission: the word Hamas, the terror group that ignited the war. That's a remarkable level of avoidance for someone who positions herself as a moral guide for children just learning their numbers and letters. Millions of us once viewed Mr. Rogers as the ultimate arbitrator of kindness and goodness. Today, millions of children see Miss Rachel the same way. And that's precisely why her increasingly politicized online presence should concern parents. Miss Rachel has a moral compass, but it only points leftward. If parents invite her into their homes, they should understand that the direction in which she's guiding their kids is leftward. And if you don't want to believe her, if you don't want to believe what she's saying in this article, well, there's this. And this comes from Carl Campanile and George Fitzgibbon of the New York Post. And again, this was from last December. It said, Mayor-elect Zoran Mandami, newly announced inaugural committee, is already raising eyebrows, giving controversial children's YouTuber Miss Rachel a place on their team. The inclusion of the toddler whisperer, whose real name is Rachel Griffin Accurso, didn't sit well with everyone. Quote, Miss Rachel, she's bringing false charges against Jews. She smears Jews. That's what former county trustee Jeffrey Weinsenfeld told the Post. What a disgrace. Griffin Accurso was accused by a Jewish civil rights watchdog group in April of repeatedly posting pro-Hamas propaganda while ignoring the plight of Israeli children affected by the war in Gaza. Griffin Accurso has defended her comments in the past, saying she cares for the plight of all children, including Palestinians and Israelis and Americans. I care deeply about families and young children, she also said in a statement to the Post. But she continues to support Mamdani, who is an anti-Semite. In fact, WABC said just the other day that Mayor Zoran Mamdani spent the morning with YouTuber sensation Miss Rachel to sing to children at a school in Lower Manhattan. The toddler whisperer, as she's been called several times, who has a giant internet following on her YouTube series, where she sings, the children's songs and teaches language development and that type of thing. Well, Mamdani and Miss Rachel sang to children in District 2 3K pre-K Center on Friday. This was just right before Christmas, the Friday right before Christmas, and a pre-K on Washington Street. The two sang The Wheels on the Bus to a classroom of several dozen children, and then had a group discussion with the children about how they feel. The mayor said he is feeling happy because Thursday he announced universal child care for every 2-year-old in the city. Giving makes us feel so happy, and giving childcare makes everyone really happy in the city, Miss Rachel said. Well, maybe not the taxpayers, but anyway. That led to their next song, If You're Happy and You Know It. So her YouTube channel has, as I said, about 18 million subscribers, and her views have racked up over 13 billion views. And then this happened. Brecca Stoll of the Daily Wire says that the children's entertainer, Miss Rachel, under fire for her associations with the far left, is now on the ropes over liking a comment on one of her posts that read, "Free America from the Jews." Yeah. In an emotional video posted after the internet spotted the like on her Instagram page, Miss Rachel claimed she accidentally liked the comment on her post because she's old and not as good with touching things online. The anti-Semitic comment was posted under her own message reading, "Free Palestine, free Sudan, free Congo, free Iran." Over the course of the 1 minute and 46-second apology video, which we will play for you here in a second, she walked viewers through what she believes happened. Miss Rachel said that she was alerted by her user who noticed the anti-Semitic comment had been marked liked by the author. And she goes through this whole thing of, "Hi, I'm Rachel. Just wanted to let you know there's a comment under your latest post that says, 'Free America from the Jews.' That says liked by the author." And this is what the user wrote. And the user says, "I'm sure that's an accident, so wanted to let you know." Well, Rachel responded within an hour saying, "Deleted. How horrible. Oh, wait, let me check. I did delete one like that." Unquote. In a follow-up message, she added, "Yeah, I believe I deleted that earlier right when I saw it. I hate anti-Semitism." However, the next day, the comment was still visible and continued to show as liked by author, prompting a wave of backlash. She claimed she thought she had deleted the comment, but accidentally had hit the like and hide button instead. So here's that message that she put out after this controversy.
So I thought I deleted a comment and I accidentally hit like and hide. I don't know how or why. I've accidentally liked comments before. It happens. Like, I'm a human who makes mistakes. I would never agree with an anti-Semitic thing like the comment. We have Jewish family. A lot of my friends are Jewish. I delete anti-Semitic comments. I have proof because yesterday somebody messaged me. There was a comment that said that. So I said, yes, I saw that. I deleted it. Yes, and I deleted it because that's what I thought happened. And then I said, I hate anti-Semitism. I hate anti-Semitism. And so the internet, I guess, has picked it up, believing that that's what happened. I feel like we can't be human anymore. Like, we can't. And I'm so sorry for the confusion it caused. And I'm so sorry for the confusion it caused. I'm so sorry if anyone thought that I would ever agree with something. I'm so sorry if anyone thought that I would ever agree with something horrible anti-Semitic like that. I don't. Something horrible. I want to say that it's okay to be human and it's okay to make mistakes. It is okay to be human. Okay to be I'm old. I am not good.
Okay, so just so you know, because you can't see it obviously on the podcast,
Touching things.
not one tear is shed
I like things
during this time.
happened. And I've been
during
like,
this entire video.
but fine, I guess.
The video was captioned, "I'm so broken over this."
Unlike that, I can't believe I accidentally like that.
And
like,
some Instagram users noted
and my
that
advocacy
the button
is
to
wonderful
like
and beautiful, and I'm
one
so
of
proud
your
of
posts
it.
is
And there's
nowhere
nothing
near
wrong
the
with it.
one to delete.
And it shouldn't be
the post.
controversial.
Not helping her case, Miss Rachel also responded to a comment left by
to be treated like
the Palestine News Network that said, "Spoiler alert, they left the comments themselves." Miss Rachel responded, "Ooh, oh." It is unclear who they referred to in her posts. And as the controversy around her post and comment unfolded, Miss Rachel, leaned further into her political messaging, stating, "My advocacy is wonderful and beautiful, and I'm so proud of it."
Look what I found. That
so she said that she hates anti-Semitism, right? That's what you heard. Well,
oh my god, I thought I deleted that.
Is that really true? When Glamour magazine, and this comes from the Daily Wire, when Glamour magazine named Rachel Accurso, better known as Miss Rachel, one of its 2025 Women of the Year, it seemed like a natural choice. The beloved creator behind the widely popular YouTube series of babies and toddlers, Miss Rachel built an empire of kindness and color, drawing in over 17 million subscribers. It's up to 18 now. With her signature pink t-shirt, cheerful overalls, and radiant smile. For millions of parents, she was a trusted presence in their children's earliest years. But in the months following October 7th of 2023, that image began to fracture. What started as gentle advocacy for the children of Gaza soon became something else. Miss Rachel's tone shifted from empathy to accusation. Though she insisted her concern was for all children, her social media feed told only one side of the story and began to mirror talking points traced to Hamas sources. One viral post was a shocking photo of a sick Gazan child, and she blamed the child's malnutrition on famine, leading viewers to believe Israel was starving the population. However, further investigation revealed the child suffered from severe anyway, it's a lack of nutrients in the body. Again, I'm not a medical guy, right? Well, multiple Jewish groups, parents, and organizations attempted, both directly and indirectly, to encourage her to research more thoroughly and consider the impact of her words on her millions of followers. After one post, Pens for Swords, a grassroots advocacy initiative supporting Israel and combating anti-Semitism, sent over 800 letters to Miss Rachel, urging her to temper her language, reflect, and include Israeli children in her advocacy. Although she briefly acknowledged the Bibius children, she proceeded to invite Montez Azariaz, he's a Palestinian journalist who openly supports Hamas, onto her show as a guest. Well, on November 4th, Miss Rachel accepted her Glamour Woman of the Year award wearing a dress embroidered with artwork by Palestinian children. During her speech, she shared the children's stories and referred to them as victims of the homicide. I'm going to repeat that. She referred to them as victims of the homicide, genocide. A shocking and unfounded accusation that perpetuates the vicious lie that Israel is committing genocide. It was a missed opportunity for reflection, empathy, and truth. And despite the Jewish community's repeated attempts to highlight and harm and distortion in her words, Miss Rachel has doubled down, flooding her social media with posts that echo anti-Israel propaganda. Her content no longer advocates for all children. It fixates on one group while vilifying another. Her feed overflows with posts about Gaza, but remains silent about the suffering of children in Nigeria, Sudan, or the Ukraine. Where, then, is her universal compassion? What makes Miss Rachel's influence so dangerous is her role as a self-described teacher and child rights advocate. She has positioned herself as a trusted guide for millions of young parents, people actively shaping the next generation's values. Yet, through her messaging, she is partnering with a terrorist organization, whether she fully realizes it or not. So that brings us to an opinion piece that I thought was very good. And this is by Vanessa Santos, again, of the Daily Wire. And she wrote this. She said, like many parents of young children, I spend a lot of time thinking about what enters our home. I'm careful about what my kids eat, who they learn from, and especially what they watch. Children absorb authority long before they understand ideas, which makes early media choices far more consequential than we like to admit. And that is why my kids don't watch Miss Rachel, the popular children's entertainer, whose real name, as we said, is Rachel Griffin Curso, burst onto the scene with her Songs for Little videos with help which help children develop speech with songs and puppets. And it's like Sesame Street for the YouTube age. And it became a sensation during the coronavirus pandemic as parents scrambled to support isolated children falling behind. But in recent years, Miss Rachel has become known for something else entirely: her criticism of Israel and defense of Hamas in Gaza. Accurso claims that she's a neutral humanitarian who uses her platform to advocate for children everywhere, but her actions tell a different story. The Free Palestine activist came under fire for liking an Instagram comment, and that said, "Free America from Jews." Accurso said she liked the comment by accident, mistakenly tapping the like button while trying to delete the comment. Her apology, which included a disavowal of anti Semitism, satisfied some of her fans. I'm not convinced, she says, whether or not she actually liked the comment. It's hard. It's hardly the first time that she's cozied up to the anti-Semitic interests. In an August interview with Peter Beinart, she repeated disputed casualty claims and framed Israel as uniquely responsible for the suffering of children in Gaza, while omitting Hamas's role in initiating and sustaining the war. This was not an impulsive post. It was a deliberate media appearance in which a children's entertainer used her credibility with parents to promote one side of the war messaging. She campaigned for and has frequently appeared with, as we just talked about, Zoran Madami, who declined to renew New York City's executive orders addressing anti-Semitism and boycotts of Israel, raising concerns among Jewish organizations, of course. And these appearances do not exist in isolation. Miss Rachel frequently uses her platform to criticize Israel and repeat false claims about the war in Gaza. Anti-Semitism today rarely announces itself outright. It moves through selective outrage and euphemisms and moral posturing that excuse violence against Jews. When a children's entertainer begins to deal in this kind of rhetoric, it's up to parents to take notice. This is not about canceling a YouTuber. It's about boundaries. There are countless ways to teach language development without bringing activism into the playroom. Parents can choose content creators who are focused on children, not politically charged activism. Children don't need to understand anti-Semitism for it to actually harm them. They form trust in authority figures before they're capable of evaluating what those figures stand for. We've all seen how much children love Miss Rachel. The 43-year-old isn't going anywhere, and her brand is only growing. The children who love her videos now will grow with her and continue looking to her as a trusted source, much as previous generations looked to Mr. Rogers. One day, these children will hear her talk about Israel, and that's where the problem starts. That's why my children don't watch Miss Rachel. I don't trust her to help shape their moral understanding, she says. I don't invite someone with these abhorrent views into my home. Pressing play is not a neutral act. It is an invitation into our homes and into our children's developing senses of authority. And that access carries responsibility. Influencers are not entitled to parental trust. They earn or lose our trust by what they say and do. And Miss Rachel has certainly lost mine, she says. But I wanted to kind of sum things up here. Because again, this isn't about, canceling some YouTuber. And there's plenty of YouTubers and TikTokers and Instagrammers and all that out there that I don't agree with and that type of thing. But I really thought that this piece from Kim Jagger of Kim Jagger's ministry, I think she really hit some things on the head and particularly bringing in some scripture here. She says, "But solid food is for the mature, for those who have their powers of discernment trained by constant practice to distinguish good from evil." Of course, that's Hebrews 5:14. Wildly popular preschooler YouTuber Miss Rachel doesn't seem to subscribe to that verse as she promotes Pride Month and has invited trans activist Dylan Mulvaney on her show. She has defended these decisions by using parts of Matthew 22:36-40 about loving God and loving others. But remember, we are to take the whole counsel of God's word to direct our steps, just like Christ did when he was tempted by the evil one in the wilderness. Of course, Matthew 4. Yes, we are to love God and love others, and also Hebrew 5:14 tells us we are supposed to constantly practice discerning good from evil. That requires us to call some things good and some things bad. And the world we live in calls that practice judging. Like me, you probably hear the phrase "don't judge" a lot in our world, and often out of the mouths of people like Miss Rachel, who consider herself loving and empathetic. However, Miss Rachel is confused. Furthermore, I'm concerned the enemy is using her attempts to call wrong things right as being loving to silence many from discerning truth and speaking truth to each other about sin, because the evil one knows that the truth will set us free. Spurgeon once said, "Do not give fair names to foul sins." I'm thankful for people in my life who recognized my sin for what it was and loved me enough to call it wrong and talk to me about it. Those dear friends were absolutely being loving because they wanted nothing to stand in the way of my relationship with God. I guess they could have been worried that I would tell them, "Stop judging me," or "You aren't being loving." But I'm so thankful that they knew the difference between judging and condemn, which a Christian is not to do, and a discerning judgment of fruit, which is what a Christian is supposed to do. The father of all lies is skilled at taking the very words of God out of context. This is what Miss Rachel is doing, and this is why it is so important for Christians to know all of God's word and to read it in context. Yes, God does say, Matthew 7:1, "Judge not, that you be not judged." And this seems to be the favorite verse of those up to their eyeballs in sin. Yet, God goes on to say in that very same chapter that we can know them by their fruits, and that every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. Let's be the iron that sharpens iron for each other. Let's call out the good in each other, but let's also talk to each other about sin that so easily entangles. Let's call wrong things wrong, not celebrate them. If we truly love others, we have to, in love, help them know that what God says about how we are to live and be vulnerable enough to let others help us. Most of us have people we love who are in bondage to misery-making sin. Those of us who have been set free are called to speak truth in love and not remain silent. Yes, pray fervently before you ever open your mouth. Stay connected to God and trust Him to give you the words. Love others, but speak truth to them in love and with godly motives, because the truth, it sets us free. But solid food is for mature, for those who have their powers of discernment trained by constant practice to distinguish good from evil. That Hebrews 5:14 verse again. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked what is perverse. Proverbs 10:32. So I liked it. I think it really applies to what we're talking about here, and I think that we need to really watch what we allow our children to get attached to and to learn from, and just because it's it's couched as a kids show or whatever, I think we need to watch and make sure that what they're learning and who they're learning from is approved by us and by God. I'd love to hear what you think on it. You may think I'm completely out to lunch. I would love to hear that from you. And of course, you can always do that at uncommonsensepodcast.com. Thank you very much for listening. This podcast is a production of Morganite Communications.